You're here because you're already doing a lot of things right, but you may feel that your business has become more difficult to grow month on month. You maybe are even stalled month to month and not growing, or maybe you've even found that your business is starting to decline. Even though you've got an ability to sign clients, you've got the ability to make sales, you've been in the game for a while, you feel like things should be getting easier when in fact they're getting more and more challenging. Now, you are not alone. This is very, very common, more common than you might think. And there's a very good reason that you're feeling this way. You're feeling frustrated, you're feeling burnt out, you're feeling overworked and underpaid. And there's a reason that you're watching this video and you're ready for a change. Now, at some point in the past, you decided, I'm going to take this online coaching thing seriously. And you started doing more. You started doing more content. You started doing more DMs. You started tagging clients more. You started talking to more and more people about your coaching. You started creating more reels. You started creating more promotions. You started putting up offers. You started giving away lead magnets. You started doing more and more and more and more. But what you will have found is over the last year or two, the effectiveness of all of these things has gone way, way down. And we're in a different market. We're in a trust recession where people don't want your free lead magnet anymore because they know it's attached to a sales process and they know it doesn't deliver a whole lot of value. People don't reply to your messages because they've had so many people message them that they kind of know the drill at this point. You're looking for 5 people posts, rarely end up with the 5 spots filled and often don't end up with any or maybe just 1 spot filled. And all this stuff that did actually work at one point in time is no longer working. So your solution now is to try and do more of those things, to try and increase your output, increase your discipline, increase your consistency, have a better mindset, show up more frequently. All of these things that we kind of get fed from the mainstream self-development media, right? Where you go online and you watch a video of Alex Hormozy or Andy Elliott or someone like this, and they're telling you to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, to cut off everyone, to work 6 days a week, 18 hours a day, to keep going. It's painful, it hurts, you gotta grind, you gotta hustle. And that's the messaging that's coming in. That's the solutions you are being presented with. And I am here to tell you that there is a better solution. But first, you need to actually start with the problem. Like, why is none of this stuff working? Why did it work before, but now it doesn't work? You're likely here because what you're doing currently just doesn't feel sustainable. Now, all of the things that you've tried, you've tried the lead magnets, you've maybe tried funnels, you've maybe tried boosting posts, paid ads, like all of these things. Some of them maybe worked short term, they maybe brought in a client or 2 here or there, but you still just find yourself in this rat race of manual effort and this rat race of having to show up and do more and push harder to try and make the business grow. And it does just feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill. It's getting more and more difficult. Now, I'm here to tell you that the problem is not your effort, it is not your motivation, it's not your mindset, it's not your consistency, it's not your discipline, it's not your content, it's none of those things. Those are all symptoms of a far, far greater problem in the business. And this is the underlying structure, the underlying infrastructure of your business is not leveraged. It is built upon manual inputs. It is built upon you showing up and putting in units of time. It is built upon sending a lot of messages, having a lot of conversations, following up with leads. As soon as you stop working, the business stops. There is nothing that is working without you. There is nothing that is producing leads or sales or opportunities while you are asleep. And effectively, you've built yourself a well-paid job, a well-paid prison. You have not actually built yourself a business, because a business is something that can run without you. A business is something that has leverage. And this lack of leverage, this lack of things that work without you in your business, this reliance on manual effort, this reliance on your ability to show up in perfect energy with perfect motivation and perfect mindset and work ethic every day, that is what has got you to this point. And it simply will not get you to the next level. I'm a proponent of hard work. I work hard. I believe in hard work, but you must be working on the right things. And if you are building something that works for you in the future, then I am an advocate of work as hard as you possibly can on that thing. However, if you are just doing tasks, you are just throwing random tasks out into the world from your business, or doing random tasks in your business, and they're not actually building anything that can start to grow and compound and work without you, you are just wasting your time. And I want you to think about this logically. If I get 10,000 bricks and I go and I stand on the edge of a field with my 10,000 bricks and I say, I want to build a house because I know if I build this house, if I build this asset, I will be able to rent it out and I will be able to make money. And if every day I consistently go and show up and I have a good work ethic and I'm motivated and I pick up 10 bricks and every day I fire 10 bricks into the field, by the time the 10,000 bricks have moved their way into the field, I will be exhausted, I will be burnt out, I will not have a house that's generating anything because I've just done a bunch of random tasks. I haven't actually put the bricks in the right place to form a house. I have no idea how many bricks it takes to build a house, by the way. Maybe that's a big house, maybe that's half a house, who knows? But the point is, if you continue to just do without building, if you're doing tasks all the time instead of creating projects, building infrastructure, creating assets, creating leverage, you will just always get stuck in basically having this job. It's like showing up to work and just having to do your 9-to-5 workday every day. There isn't really a path beyond that. And most coaches get into business without really understanding business. And as a result, they end up with this kind of well-paid but not massively well-paid job that causes them a lot of stress and anxiety and worry and fear and burns them out a lot and ends up with them kind of second guessing and doubting whether or not they should even do this thing. And that is all as a result of a lack of leverage. And if you're new here, by the way, maybe you don't even know me and you're, why should I listen to this guy on the internet? My name is Owen Dobbin Cato and I was that coach. This is how I am here. So I've been in the online space for 8 years. And for the first 5 years of those 8 years, I was the hustle master. I was sending the DMs, I was doing the posts, I was doing all of this stuff. I've got almost 1,700 Instagram posts on my page. I was doing all of the stuff that I thought I had to do, all of the hard work stuff, all of the show up stuff. And it took me years to realize that there's something missing here. Like I consistently could get to like a 10K a month. If I really hustled hard, if I really worked hard, I could get to a 10K a month, but I couldn't maintain it. And it took the same level of effort to maintain it. And I built what I call now a leaky bucket business, which is the opposite of a leverage business, which I now have. The leaky bucket business was no clear leverage in any form. And I would bring 2 clients in and I would lose 2 clients, right? So I was kind of always filling holes in the business and I didn't have any way to solve all these problems I was having because I was doing everything. I was generating traffic manually. I was generating leads manually. I was doing the sales process manually. I was closing my clients manually on sales calls. I was delivering to all my clients and managing all that admin all manually. I had almost no systems. I had like one automated sign-up email that would go out to my clients when they signed up, but everything else was manual work. And because I had an ability to work hard and I was motivated and I was disciplined and I was determined, that actually came to my detriment because I kept showing up and doing the work and working harder than everyone. And I kept getting capped out and I kept burning out and I was honestly miserable. And I grew 3 separate fitness offers to 10K a month. And each time I ended up hating the business. I wanted my freedom. I couldn't understand, what had I been sold a lie, like this whole online business freedom thing. I felt like I was in prison, I was imprisoned by my business. I felt like there was chains. Constant stress, anxiety. My calendar, like you'll see a photo of my calendar somewhere here compared to what my calendar looks like now. It was just chaos because, again, I had to do all of this stuff manually. It all came down to a lack of leverage. And that is how I discovered it. And over the last 2.5 years or so at this point, I have been mentoring people, coaches. I started out mentoring a lot of different people in different spaces, photographers, fashion designers, videographers, lots of different niches. And of course, naturally, the progression came to mentoring coaches. I had a lot of my fitness clients who became fitness coaches and then wanted to build online businesses. And after working with hundreds of coaches at this point, I can see that the distinction between those who do very well and those who don't do so well is this lack of leverage. And when I figured this out, that's how I came up with the influential identity and the leveraged operating system. So the influential identity is effectively a powerful personal brand. And I saw from early on that the one thing that I had that worked better than everybody else was my personal brand. So earlier in my career or life, I was always trying to be the cool kid. And as a result, I ended up doing a lot of kind of cool and crazy things, and I got a lot of cool content. I used to jump out of airplanes, I used to jump out of hot air balloons, I used to do a lot of parties, I had an influencer agency, I had a property management company in Barcelona, I was traveling all over Europe, partying, having fun, doing all these cool things, and my lifestyle was pretty good. So I did have that one piece of leverage that was working for me, which was my personal brand. Now that was helping me to bring clients in and sign clients up because people wanted what I had. They saw the lifestyle, they saw me being in shape, they saw me, being surrounded by pretty girls, they saw me on boats, all this kind of stuff. I didn't know at the time, but that was the one piece of leverage that was really, really working for me. And I started to realize over time that the fundamental piece of leverage that every coach has is that personal brand, the ability to connect with your audience, to build know, like, and trust, and also the ability to connect in a way that aligns with what your audience wants so they can see you as the person who solves their problems. And that was the fundamental piece of leverage. And so when I started getting into the mentoring space and I started to build my own mentorship business, which I'm now growing to 7 figures, if you're interested to follow that journey, I share absolutely everything. I realized that that was like the foundational pillar, that ability to become an influential identity in your niche, to be somebody who was trusted, respected, with credibility, who had authority. That was the foundation of everything else, because if you didn't have that, you couldn't build anything on top of it. You couldn't build systems, you couldn't build marketing, you couldn't build offers, because if people didn't want anything to do with you, it didn't matter, right? So that was the foundational piece. And then as I initially thought that personal brand was the only thing. But then after 2 years of being all in on this, working with clients across tons of different niches and working with hundreds of coaches, I started to realize like the fundamental thing was leverage. And personal brand was simply the first piece of leverage. And that was how I came up with what I call the leveraged operating system. Now, the leverage operating system is effectively what I use with my clients to smash past 6 figures. It's what I use in my own business. And there's 3 key components. The first is the influential identity. It is the personal brand. It's the foundation or the bedrock that everything else sits upon. And it's where you create opportunities. It's where you bring people into your world. It's where you gather attention. And it's where people actually pay attention to you. And you're not invisible. You're somebody people want to listen to. The second piece on top of that, on top of the bedrock, is your systems. And we run something called the asset ecosystem. And I'm a big, big believer in creating digital assets. So we live in an era where you can create leverage and you can create assets for free. Hundreds of years ago, you had to have money or you had to have people to create assets. You couldn't just create a house out of nothing, right? You had to have money to buy materials, or you had to have people to do the work, or you had to have both. Now we live in an era where we have code, we have media, we have all of these things at our disposal, all of these tools that we can use. We have AI. We have all of these different systems that we can use in these different forms of leverage, and we can create digital assets. This video is an asset. I create it once, and it sits here educating you on what you need to grow your business to 6 figures and beyond. It gives you value, but I can put this out into the world and thousands of people can see this video. That is leverage, and that is part of the asset ecosystem. To get to this video, you click the link. That link is another asset in the system. If you're on my email list or in my email community, you will receive emails from me directing you to other assets to go deeper, to provide more value. So once you come into my world, there are many assets that are interlinked together. My YouTube plays a part in that as well. And we have an asset ecosystem where instead of just creating random things, which is what most coaches are doing, everything that we create ties into the ecosystem. Every video drives to the next step. And we gather all of that attention and we pre-sell and we turn this attention into qualified leads. So if the personal brand brings in the attention, the asset ecosystem actually pre-sells and converts and markets to that attention that we have brought in, and it brings the right people through. And then the final layer of this is actually the offer flow framework, which is here at the top of the pyramid. And the whole idea behind the offer flow framework is that not everyone in your audience is ready for the same thing at the same time. And most coaches get this wrong because they have one program at one price point, and that's it. If you can't pay $200 or $300 a month for online coaching, well, tough. You can't have a coach. The reality is there's massive numbers of people in your audience right now. Even if you've only got 1,000, 2,000 in your audience, there are huge numbers of people who would buy something that is not your main thing. Now, you might have a 5K program, you might have a $500 program, and you might have a €50 lead generation piece of content or webinar or some sort of like valuable small purchase. Now, all of these things are going to tap into different parts of your audience. The people who are lukewarm and not ready for the full-on investment. The people who actually don't want your $500 thing but would pay $5K to go way, way deeper than you expect. And believe me, those people are there. And then also within your community, do you have upsells? Do you have cross-sells? Do you have masterminds or events that you can invite people to? Do you have a flow of offers that serves people at every single stage of the client journey, or the journey from lead to client to long-term client who loves what you do? And the offer flow framework is a strategic framework of offers that makes sales happen on repeat, on autopilot. This is how you make automated sales. This is how you make DM sales of 2 or 3K. I've done lots and lots of those. People inbounding me because the offer flow framework is doing its job and it's making the sales process easy. Now, those are the 3 fundamental areas every single coach can tap into. You can tap into leverage in your traffic and attention getting, in your lead generation, in your sales process, in your delivery and your management of clients. And at this point, honestly, there's only one thing that can stop you implementing this. You know, if you know that, look, I need to get leverage in my business, I need to implement these kinds of systems to take my business to the next level, the only thing that's getting in your way is you, right? You are the only thing getting in your way and stopping you actually taking yourself and the business to the next level. If you are ready for that, there is a link below. You can click that link, you can book in a call with me. And what we'll do on that call is we'll audit your current business. We'll look at the different elements of your business. We'll look at where you're getting your attention from. We'll look at where you're getting your leads from. We'll look at how you're closing your sales. We'll look at absolutely everything from start to finish, from stranger to long-term client who pays you thousands of euro and stays for years and years. And we will find the leverage points in every step of that journey. I will map those out for you. I'll show them to you. If you want my help after that, I'll happily talk you through that. At the very least, you will leave that call with a much better understanding of where you can find leverage in your business today to take things to the next level. The link is below. Click the button and I'll see you on the call.